kingdom's council said that the prince was losing his mind. They whisper it in the halls, they murmur it behind their masks. The prince has gone mad. But tell me, what do they know of madness? They sit in their golden chairs. Speaking of honor and legacy, while I sit in the silence of my chambers, haunted by the echo of your name, if loving you is madness, then yes, I am guilty. I have lost my mind, my peace, my reason, all for a face that the gods themselves would envy. They think I cannot hear them. They think the prince has gone deaf to the world he's meant to rule. But I hear every word, every lie they dress as concern. They do not understand that it is not my mind I am losing. It is my patience. Every breath I take in this cursed palace tastes of deceit. My father calls it duty. My mother calls it heritage. But I call it a cage wrapped in gold. You were the only truth I ever knew, and they call that insanity. Sometimes I see their eyes when they look at me. Fear mixed with pity. They think the crown is too heavy for my head. They think love has weakened me. But they do not see the wars I fight within myself every night. They do not know how many times I've stood at my window, staring into the dark horizon, imagining you standing there waiting. They do not know how my heart still burns, even when the whole kingdom turns cold. They have gathered in the great hall today, deciding my fate as if I were a pawn on their chessboard. My brother speaks with venom. My father listens with pride. They say the prince must be restrained, that his judgment is clouded by desire, and yet none of them have the courage to love as deeply as I do. They speak of reason, but their souls are hollow. They speak of wisdom, but they are slaves to their thrones. I do not fear their judgment anymore. Let them call me mad. Let them strip me of my title. They cannot take what they never gave me. My heart has chosen its queen, and no crown in this world could ever compare to the warmth of her touch. I would rather wander as a madman with your name on my lips than live as a prince bound by chains of duty. If this is madness, then I embrace it. I wear it like armor, because every time they say I've lost my mind, I know I found something greater. You. My word may crumble, my kingdom may fall, but the fire you've lit inside me will not die. They can silence a prince, but they cannot silence a man who has loved beyond reason. And tonight, when the moonlight touches my window, I will speak to the shadows again. I will tell them your name. I will let them call me mad, because only the mad know what it means to feel this deeply. And if my mind is truly gone, then let it be lost in you forever. They locked me in my chamber tonight, as if iron and stone could contain the chaos inside me. I laughed when the guards closed the door, because they have no idea what truly drives a man to madness. It's not the absence of control. It's the absence of her. Every wall in this room echoes with your voice. Every flicker of candlelight turns into the memory of your eyes. They think I'm dangerous because I refuse to forget you. Perhaps they're right. Because the moment I stop feeling you near me, I stop being alive. I remember the council's faces when they spoke, those wrinkled masks of loyalty and fear. They talked about me like I was a disease spreading through the kingdom. They said I bring shame to the crown, but none of them have ever known what it means to love someone the world forbids. None of them have stood against a throne for the sake of a heartbeat. They think I've lost reason, but I've only lost the ability to lie. How can I pretend to care for politics when my entire soul burns for you? My father's words still cut deeper than any blade. You are no son of mine if you betray your blood, he said. Betray my blood. How ironic, because I bleed every day for this kingdom, for their name, for their legacy. Yet, not once did anyone ask what my heart bleeds for. They crowned me the heir, but never the man. They see a prince, but never the boy who once dreamed of love without fear. I can't live inside their perfection anymore. It's suffocating. Nights have become my only allies. When the court sleeps and the torches dim, I find myself whispering to the stars, asking if they've seen you. Sometimes I imagine you walking through the forest beyond the palace walls, free and untamed, everything I wish to be. I can almost feel your presence, like the ghost of a promise that refuses to fade. They call me delusional for speaking to shadows, but it's the only way I can stay sane. Without your memory, I truly lose what's left of me. My brother visits me sometimes, not out of concern but curiosity. He looks at me as if I'm already gone, already dethroned. I can see the hunger in his eyes, the hunger for power, for my downfall. He thinks he's won because the council listens to him now. Let him have their attention. Let him have the crown if he must. The throne has never been my desire. You were. And he will never understand that kind of strength because his heart beats only for conquest, not for love. The people outside the castle walls have begun to whisper too. Some say I'm cursed, others say I'm possessed by forbidden magic. Maybe they're not wrong. You were my spell, my undoing, my sacred sin. Even now, I feel your presence crawling beneath my skin, haunting every breath I take. If madness means carrying your ghost inside me, then let me be cursed forever, because the truth is, I'd rather be damned with you than saved without you. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. Maybe the council will decide my end. Maybe my father will sign the decree to erase my name from history. But before they do, I will speak your name one last time before the dawn. I will remind them that love, true love, cannot be buried under the weight of crowns or laws. Let them call me mad. I'll smile in their faces. Because even if I die tomorrow, they will never understand one thing. The prince they called insane was simply a man who loved too deeply. They think I'll stay silent, that the shame will make me kneel, but they forget who I am. I was born in fire, raised under the shadow of a crown, forged in blood. I have watched kings tremble before war. I have seen the throne stained by betrayal, and yet they call me weak because I chose love over power. Fools, they mistake mercy for madness. But soon, they will understand what it means to break a prince's heart. There's a storm building inside me, and when it finally escapes, it will drown this entire kingdom. Every corridor I walk through now feels colder, heavier. The portraits of my ancestors stare down at me with their hollow eyes, judging me for not being like them. Ruthless, obedient, heartless, maybe I should have been. Maybe I should have learned that in this palace, love is not a virtue, but a weapon, and I was too naive to realize it was pointed at me. I once believed that love could heal the cruelty of royalty, but now I see it only exposes it. I heard them tonight plotting again. My father and brother whispering behind the council doors, deciding what to do with me. They think I don't know, but their words travel like poison through the walls. He's unstable, my brother said. He's dangerous. My father agreed. Dangerous. The word made me laugh. They made me this way. Told me to fight, to conquer, to rule. And now they're afraid of the very monster they built. Sometimes I catch myself imagining the look on their faces when they realize what I've become. I no longer fear their judgment, nor their power. They can take my title, strip my name, but they can never change my mind again. The same mind they say is broken. It remembers every secret, every lie they've told. I know who betrayed me, who ordered your exile, who watched me fall apart and smiled. One day I will make them remember too. The madness they fear is not madness at all. It's clarity. For the first time in my life, I see the kingdom for what it truly is, a masquerade of loyalty built upon bones. I see the greed in their smiles, the venom in their vows. They've mistaken silence for surrender. But I've been silent only because rage takes time to ripen. And when it does, no crown, no army, no father will be able to stop me. Every night I write your name on the wall beside my bed, carving it deeper until my fingers bleed. It's my vow that I'll make them pay for every tear I've shed because of them. They wanted me to forget you, to become their puppet again. Instead, they've awakened something darker inside me. You were my light, and they extinguished it. Now they'll face what's left, the part of me that no longer loves, no longer forgives. They'll call it vengeance, they'll call it madness again. But this time I won't deny it. Let them tremble when they hear my name in the council hall. Let them pray to gods that no longer listen, because the prince they thought they buried in shame is still alive, colder, sharper, and ready to burn the kingdom that once called him insane. They will learn that a broken heart is a better strategist than a content one. I have spent my nights mapping their weaknesses like constellations. The steward who counts the coin with 2 ledgers, the general whose loyalty flickers with the wind of favor, the envoy who keeps a secret pouch for bribes. I do not need an open sword to topple them. I need patience, a whisper in the right ear, a ledger revealed at a funeral, a promise recalled at council. Revenge, I have discovered, is a long chess match, and I have nothing left to lose but time. First, I will sow doubt where certainty once lived. I will let rumors crawl like ivy across the court, questions about loyalty, hints of betrayal, memories of forgotten favors. I will visit those who feel small in this palace, the dismissed captain, the servant who remembers too much, the widow whose son was swallowed by a past decree, and I will give them words that cut clean. They will speak my name not as the prince who sinned, but as the truth bearer who dared to see them. When the people murmur, when the bazaar repeats what the courtyard whispers, even the council's gold will tremble. I will turn their strengths into liabilities. My brother's boldness will become his folly when fed with lies of treachery. My father's pride will splinter when faced with proofs of his counsel's corruption. I will reveal the debts hidden in velvet sleeves, the pacts signed in haste, and the favors repaid with lives, not with flames but with facts. Let history be the jury, and let history read aloud the names they thought buried. There is cruelty in exposure, an honest cruelty, and it is the justice of light. Allies will find me again in shadows they thought safe. The men who once bowed will meet me in taverns and stables, eyes hollow with the same hunger that has hollowed me. I will promise them a new order, not for the crown, but for the people who have been silent too long. I will give them a purpose that is sharper than loyalty to blood, the taste of retribution tempered with the hope of a fairer dawn. When soldiers begin to ask whose orders they are truly following, the cracks in the throne will widen into breaches. I will be merciless to hypocrisy and generous to courage. Those who step forward to help will find me fair. Those who hide behind parchment and prayer will discover my memory is long and unforgiving. I will not kill for sport. I will dismantle their illusions. I will make them sign decrees in light they cannot undo. I will take back titles bought with betrayal, and I will unmask the men who traded vows for silver. Let them feel the cold of dignity reclaimed. It is a harsher winter than any blade. There will be nights of bitter calculation, letters burned and others left to smolder, false alliances struck and then severed at the hour of need, a public humiliation here, a quiet exile there. I will play the part they expect, the broken prince, the madman pacing in gilded rooms. But beneath that mask, I will move pieces with the precision of a surgeon. They will misread my silence as surrender and my wounds as weakness. When I finally strike, it will be not because I am consumed, but because I am finally clear-eyed. When the dust settles, I do not imagine myself perched triumphant on the same throne that once caged me. Perhaps I will watch from the ruined balcony as the kingdom remakes itself, or perhaps I will walk away before the crown finds new chains. Revenge is not the end, it is the river that carries you to what comes next. For now I will sharpen my patience, hone my will, and let the council spend their nights drafting decrees that will read their own condemnation. Let them call me mad, as they always have. Madness is merely the new name for a man who remembers every injustice and refuses to forget. They think the sparks I throw are stray. They do not see the conflagration I have rigged in silence. Word by word, favor by favor, I have turned the court's own habits into scaffolding for its fall. I sit with parchment and poison, not in the flask, but in the truth I hand to those desperate enough to use it, and watch as their orderly world starts to stutter. The steward's ledgers became a map leading straight to the pockets of the council. The general's whispered doubt about my commands became a seed that grew into open mutiny. When watered by the right regret, I do not need to give orders to armies. I only need to show them the mirror of their complicity. When a man sees his reflection in blood, he questions which hand held the blade. At times I surprise myself with the smallness of the pleasures that now sustain me. The sound of a sealed envelope opened in an empty hall, the smirk of a servant who finally speaks the truth he once swallowed, the way the market repeats a rumor with the cadence of a prayer. These are the victories no banner can bear, but they build faster than any war. I had been trained to take cities. I am learning to take loyalties. The men who once laughed at my recklessness now lower their voices when I pass, not for fear of the crown, but for fear of what memory might choose to reveal next. The palace hears me again, not with reverence, but with the kind of attention that corals panic. There are nights when the wind carries me back to gentler things, the warmth of a hand, the way she laughed when sunlight found her hair. Those moments are treason in my own chest, and I hide them like contraband. Yet they are also the compass that keeps me from being consumed entirely by the work of dismantling. Revenge without a meaning is just brutality. My vengeance is a ledger of balances. I write the scales for those whose names were sold to silence. For every truth I free, a corner of my heart unclenches and remembers that I loved not to wound but to be seen. Even now, as I tighten the noose around falsehoods, I allow myself a single ember of the past, the belief that something worthy can rise from the ashes I set. My brother's arrogance has become brittle. He paces like a caged wolf in corridors that used to echo his laughter. I watch him from shadows I once called treasonous and count his breaths. He makes mistakes, small ones at first, a hurried decree signed without reading, a jest that reveals where his true alliances lie. I set traps with care. I leave crumbs of truth for him to swallow. Watching him unravel is a study in poetic justice. The proud stumble on the very pride that lifted them. Our father, who taught him the art of command, now clasps his hands and prays to gods that never heard the pleas of the kingdom's poor. Pride does not protect a man from ruin. It only makes the fall prettier. Sometimes I wonder if the woman I love would recognize what I have become. Does vengeance change the texture of a soul so thoroughly that even memory fails to recognize its shape? I imagine her face, not as a relic but as a verdict, and I find that my answer is both terrifying and simple. She would say I look different, harder at the edges, as if winter had taught me to sharpen instead of soften. But she would also see the same stubborn light in my eyes, the light that once refused to bow to courts or crowns. It is that light that keeps me honest even in my darkest designs. If I am to be damned for what I do, let it be for holding on to the one true thing I have known. There are costs I count in secret. Men I once called friends now sit across from me, empty-eyed, their hands trembling as they sign confessions that will unmake them. I will not kill them, not yet, because exile and disgrace cut deeper than any blade. They are public, meticulous, and final. The widow who lost a son receives her restitution, and for the first time, names her grief without swallowing it. The dismissed captain regains honor, and with it comes loyalty that cannot be bought. Justice, I have learned, is a currency that buys more than vengeance ever could. I accept the weight of this economy, knowing each restitution repays a debt owed to a kingdom that once called me mad for loving. When the final act approaches, and every plan has taught me how to read the hour like a clock, I find that rage has thinned into something clearer, purpose. The councils will convene, the proofs will be read aloud, the faces that once gave commands will crumble into the faces of conspirators. I will stand in a hall that remembers my births and my betrayals and speak, not as a prince pleading for pity, but as a man who has learned the price of silence. Whether I rebuild or walk away is a question I no longer fear to answer. Either path will be chosen free of their designs. Let them keep their words that I was losing my mind. Let them give names to the shape of my resistance. I have other names now: truth, recompense, and stubbornly love. The very thing they could never understand, and the very thing